Welcome to episode number 4 of Beyond Cost. Today we're going to talk about innovation in manufacturing. We have a very special guest with us, Rainer Balbach. He's the managing director of AC Agility Consulting and has vast experience from automotive to non-automotive in production, innovation, engineering, procurement. Basically, he's seen it all. Awesome to have you today.
Thank you, Sasan.
So, Rainer, I did a short intro, but maybe for our guests who are not familiar with your person, would you like to just start a quick introduction from your side?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for the invitation, being here again after a long time in Vienna. And my history is very simple. I'm a son of enterprise owner, automotive business, transportation of people. So I was very early looking after mobility, how to get people from A to B, what is all about and who can that done better. So therefore, I was studying my second education. I was doing my Toolmaker business, and then I went to the gym, and from there to the university. And in the university, I have learned the sheet metal working, and of course, sheet metal forming, deep drawing, and of course, all kind of metal forming. And from there on, of course, Stuttgart was that, next door, Mercedes-Benz. And Mercedes-Benz, I've started as a planner for the so-called initial material processing.
When was that?
That was in the year 76, 78.
78, yes.
Yeah, and then I did there my activities, especially sheet metal forming. That was a time to have aluminum in deep drawing, new ideas for lightweight mobility. And from then it was Mercedes-Benz, of course, working at Mercedes-Benz for 35 years. Wow. I have been with Mercedes-Benz, starting as a planner in Stuttgart unter Dürkheim, later in Sindelfingen plant, doing planning activities, especially also for new technologies. Learning new technologies, for instance, instead of the classical manufacturing of a body in white. So there was always a big question, how to do the industrialization and the cost check. No?
And the cost check.
What are the costs behind? This time I was always a little bit annoyed that I have to go to the calculation team. And my idea was to do it on my own. Yeah. Because I'm writing, the TE, how long will it take it?
So what is the TE?
Bezahlte Zeit. T, yeah. Zeit. Yeah. E, machining. Yeah. Manufacturing and so on. And that was the so-called, the track. And then a completely different department, they made out of the TE and the investment, CAPEX, OPEX, they made the price, the cost for Mercedes-Benz in turn. Yeah. And I said, why can we do that on our own?
I see.
And then I went to the IT, and then came Andreas Zeltinis, also popped up with his new ideas. Yeah, and from then onwards, always, it was for me a so-called integrated view on planning.
I understand.
What can be the costs, how to improve, what can be integrated. Yeah, that was my story all about. And from there, I got then worldwide, globally,
and
for
we will come
localization.
to that. Let's stay with the sheet metal part, because we at SET actually have, it's to be honest, a love-hate relationship. It's such a cool technology, but it's tricky. Right. Whenever I talk to experts about sheet metal forming, they say, like there is the things that is in the books, but sheet metal forming is an art. Sometimes things are possible that no book says it's possible. So did you have a similar experience when it comes to sheet metal itself?
Especially in aluminum, completely different behavior, and it tends to stick to the steel tools. So you have to avoid that, of course, with lubrication or with special surface layers. Also you have to plate that with several options that are available. And there's always something new. Always something new. But sheet metal is also a little bit in a clash with new technologies. Instead of sheet metal, there was once a US-American guy invented car making in a new way. Giga and mega casting. So replacing 150 sheet metal with one casted part. That was the very beginning, and we did that at Mercedes-Benz as well.
And how was that change process? Because
not easy.
Not easy, yeah. Because as I imagine, there's like this whole organization structure, that says, okay, this is how you do the body. This is how you do it. And this is the plan for it. And then you come up with the idea, hey guys, we could make just one casted part.
Yeah.
How do you approach this when there is such an existing structure that is doing something else?
Always big resistance from the so-called planning department, from the design department.
Yeah.
This is human being. When some new technology is upcoming, somebody is always scared. And he is also the leader in bringing emotions into the team. So there are many questions will pop up. And you have to calm down the emotions as a planner for new technologies. But it went, for instance, at Mercedes-Benz, when we also did a so-called Integralträger. It's a carrier for the motor, combining axle, the front body, the steering system, and everything should be combined. Before 150 sheet metal parts, and afterwards one high-pressure die casting.
And of course, the planner has a very important role, but as you always tell me, this is always cross-functional. And you seem to be someone who is very good in breaking up the silos. You just went to the IT guys and to the costing guys and said, I want to look at that calculation. Yep. I want to understand that. In general, when you look at the culture in automotive, do you think over the last 30 years we're getting better in thinking cross-functional, or is it something that you think we're still missing?
I would say they are on the move to improve, but there's a long way to go to open the mind of the. So I'm used to do this only, that only. I'm the perfect cylinder cover of the engines. I can do everything. I know everything, and now there is no cylinder cover anymore. What should I do? So people are scared. Or, for instance, the thermal management topic. Yeah. This is a big challenge. How to integrate the cooling loops, cooling circuits. So new technologies for new cars is really a big issue.
But new technologies were there in the past too, right? So my question is more this dynamic of understanding how can we integrate innovation fast. I mean, like car makers like Mercedes-Benz, now there's electric car, but they went through so many technology jumps basically. Do you think this cross-functional topic is never solved and it's a constant effort and endeavor to bring this openness?
It is.
Or do you think there is like somewhere a switch and then we're good and then we are cross-functional forever?
At Mercedes-Benz, we have tried both.
Yeah.
The so-called incubation center to create new teams. Just remember the separate company with completely new environment. BMW has done it with integration of the design, the quality, and the supply chain management and costing. So they brought everything under one roof in Munich in the FIZ. That was really successful to have something new in the organization, especially when it comes to new technologies. More successful, more efficient, and much faster than if you try to open the mindset of each engineer. And there are somehow some specialists.
Now, we talked in terms of your career very much about this engineering part, bringing in new technologies. I mean, you went through the whole topic of globalization. Like during your tenure, this has happened. And you were actually at the spearhead of this. You built up the first pilots in Southeast Asia, in China, and so on. So how was that from your perspective? When were you tasked to help building up the support emerging markets business?
It started funny. It started with Austria, Graz. So I was the so-called connecting point from Mercedes-Benz headquarters to Graz to, at that time, Steyr Daimler Puch. It's still, by the way, it's still produced in Graz. The most expensive series car of Mercedes-Benz is still produced in Graz. And with new technologies, with new electric, fully electric, everything is available. And that was my job, to synchronize the central development and procurement, sourcing material, sourcing tools, sourcing sheet metal, sourcing release quality, and so on. That was my job. So in the morning, I came in via Linz to Graz, and in the evening, I flew back with the Tyrolean Airways at that time. Yeah. It was big fun. And then from there, I have been in Korea, SsangYong with Hyundai.
When was that?
That was in the year 1995, something like
95,
that.
yeah.
And Japan, just to do benchmarking, of course, what is ongoing at Toyota, Mitsubishi, at that time Mercedes-Benz entered the collaboration with Mitsubishi. And then I went to China, helping to establish the organization, procurement organization, supplier development organization in China, Mercedes-Benz China. From there, I have been in Singapore for all the CKD plants established. By the way, what Mr. Trump is doing right now, that was already in place at that time, before the year 2000, because all those countries, especially China and Southeast Asia, ASEAN countries, they have challenged the OEMs already with local content. If you reach that amount of local content, you are allowed to import the rest of the car duty-free. The major driving point for Mercedes-Benz was to establish CKD completely knocked down factories all over the world, where the demand, of course, not all over the world, where passenger car, Mercedes-Benz car need to be to have them competitive on the market. That means in South Africa, in India, in Egypt, in South America, I have been doing my CKD activities. Also establishing plant, starting sometimes from body in white, engine assembly, test center, and of course, supply chain management.
And what did you take, because you were very active in the headquarters, you were doing the planning on a factory level, and then now you come into emerging markets where there's like nothing you have to deliver, or sometimes not much. I mean, I just imagine that in the 90s, there is not a big automotive industry in Southeast Asia. Or it was.
It was. Look at especially Japanese companies. They have done it Japan. Already because we have put our factory close to Japanese activities. Toyota in Thailand, or in Jakarta, Indonesia, and in Malaysia. So there are our clusters. There are centers of automotive. Where the OEMs are. Like right now, the Chinese in Hungary.
I see.
So there are some clusters everywhere, or in Argentina, Buenos Aires. There are clusters everywhere in the world.
But how did this experience going to these different clusters in a new market, so to say, what was the impact on you personally, thinking about processes and thinking about innovation?
First of all, my mindset and my openness to new cultures has been grown to a huge extent. And it's really fun to inhale the experience of cultural events like eating. So first experience was, of course, Korea, to have the local food there, Japanese, of course, to learn recipes. So I was sometimes very much alone. So I have learned that, the so-called cooking schools. So there you have the most experience at the end. In India, I have had 4 years experience in India as an expat. So from my actually nice old lady experience, she has been cooking for me. And I was so curious to learn about the Indian recipes. And this is still there. I'm doing with my wife now, of course. I'm trying to learn and to use the recipes, what I have learned all over the world.
Understand.
Also towards people. When you have different culture, teams with different culture, you have to integrate that, of course. And you cannot do that by order. You have to recognize.
And I guess this learning happens both ways. And looking at the EV shift in automotive, the emerging markets actually learned very well. And what happened? How did emerging markets become market leaders, innovation leaders? in new technologies.
They have learned that actually from the OEMs, from Japanese OEMs, from us, from everywhere.
And what did we miss?
The attitude to learn, to be open. Also we cannot transfer all our structures, all our methods, how to process innovation to other countries. You have to recognize what are the frame conditions. The frame conditions are in many cases different. Also what I call it best country sourcing. Best country sourcing, best culture sourcing, where the frame conditions are attractive enough to have the localization done. Now in a big scale, even for serious production. For instance, when you see our, let's take one point. In Austria and in Germany, we are losing out on the foundry business in a big way. Why? Because of high energy costs. Meanwhile, we have so good foundries everywhere in the world with low cost, low energy costs, and low wages, of course, and a perfect infrastructure. Yeah, direct from the mines. We have bauxite, we have this and that. We have, for instance, I have developed, by the way, a smelter for the Mercedes in Dubai. In Dubai, they have used the perfect bauxite from all over the world and brought it to raw material with low ingredients to have at the end for the wheels, for all our suppliers, to have the perfect ductile wheel rims. And for that you need low iron, and that was only there available. Engineer everything and serious process. So all my wheel rim suppliers, foundries, they bought at the end in Dubai. Of course,
So
because it
what
was a
you're
competitive
saying
thing.
is there's not one approach to rule everything, but you have to stay open and
It's a
just
use-
find the right tool for
Right.
the right job.
Use case. It depends on the business case, on the use case.
And you think the emerging markets were better to understand this, so they were learning more better from us than the other way around?
Yes, I have to say here, they are open and they see they have to develop their culture, their country as per, as a reference case. A reference case like Germany, US or Austria. So that was their challenge, their motivation to do it like we do and maybe even better.
And now talking specifically about e-drive, e-powertrain, I think it's fair to say that European manufacturers had their starting struggles. Now there are new platforms coming out. You see we are on the right path, or do you think, are we going to catch up?
Look, here I would say, especially when we talk about passenger cars, it's all about economy of scales. And that was also actually from the famous Tesla organization, it was their perfect use case to build low-cost car in the cabin and of course you use everything what's high quality, but it gives you also a luxurious environment and so on. Use the best, but improve especially on economy of scales. Do a module construction, and Tesla wasn't that very successful. By the way, many Chinese, BYD and all the others, they have learned very fast. They are fast followers, they have learned the philosophy very fast.
And when you look at it, I was looking at the numbers of cars imported into Europe. And China is up there, but funnily enough, countries like Turkey, Morocco are on the list.
Right.
So, especially in Europe, but especially in Germany, we always lived on this made in Germany label, sign of quality. In this new era of software-defined vehicles, powertrains, range of batteries, where is the USP of us?
Good question, thanks. But this opens, of course, the door to new ideas. No? The classical procedures and processes, what we have in development of cars, we cannot use anymore. This is my personal experience. You have to really interrogate, you have to question, is the organization in the right way? Look, we need to integrate now completely new functions into the car. Yeah, it's actually upside down, something like that. Software-defined vehicles. So it starts actually with the customer use. Yeah? You are sitting there in a driver's seat, and you have actually a cell phone with 4 wheels, something. Yeah? Communication. Just came in Vienna, and there was traffic jam. So I could do, that was the advantage, I could do my communication, yeah, in a proper way. So that means we have to listen much more closer to the customer. What are the requirements? And what is the use of the car? If
What
you
is the
have
value?
Exactly. What is the value?
Yeah.
When you have only highway driving in US, Route 66, yeah, of course.
Because this is my experience talking to a lot of manufacturing organizations. I think there's a very clear structure that every organization has to quantify and measure costs.
Yep.
But sometimes I'm missing the same thing for value, to be honest.
This could be our one step ahead. This brings me to another topic. We have to adopt our organization. The so-called structure follows strategy. We need to build now the software-defined vehicle, no matter what it is. Still combustion engine we will require to some extent. For instance, the hybrid cars, there can be, of course, there's still a combustion engine available, but it can be also combined with hydrogen. It can be combined with, of course, battery electric. But there are more activities to be done. For instance, in these alternative energy activities, you have to be more efficient. So you need to integrate the thermal management, cooling circuits.
Yeah.
We have, for instance, in the hydrogen fuel cell driven cars, we have 5 completely separate cooling loops. What is this? You can cascade it down. There are options there. And this is for existing organization very difficult. And to make a price tag to the function at the end. No?
I understand.
You can do everything. I'm an engineer. For me, definitely there is a solution for everything. But to which price?
And which timeline?
And which, of course. And now we have, especially in Europe, the Basel organization, what is the release procedure? How to get it released?
Yeah. From a compliance perspective, you mean?
Yeah.
I understand.
And all to integrate all those points, it's not that easy at all anymore. So you cannot do that in OEM headquarters somewhere for all the countries in the world. You have to, for instance, Mercedes-Benz in Bangalore, there is a huge development center doing the integration, doing, data silos, opening the data silos for the engineers in Stuttgart. Getting that integrated.
We come back to the same topic from before, which is basically connecting the dots.
We are circling around our, I would say, hurdles. Hurdles to be more efficient, time to market, and attractive for the customer. Why is BYD so successful?
It's
so
a great
attractive?
value cost product.
A passenger car.
But
offer you everything what you need: communication, transportation.
But actually, Rainer, you mentioned 2 things, especially because you worked a long time at Mercedes-Benz, but you did a lot of things in non-automotive too. And you mentioned something, hydrogen.
Yep.
Which was, I would say, a couple of years ago, there was a very heavy and sometimes emotional debate between what is the future, e-powertrain or hydrogen. One might say it's kind of use case dependent. What do you say? Is it use case dependent?
Clear, yes. Depending on use case. Either hydrogen, from my experience in passenger cars, makes no sense. When you look at your utilization of your car, where do you use it? It's especially here in Vienna. Can you use it at all? Question mark.
Rather not.
Yeah, so for me, when I look on my daily driving experience, is actually short driving only. Also the long-term drive, the long-distance driving, like in US from California to New York, even that can be organized somehow. There are nice filling stations with good experience in US.
So you say on passenger cars,
no hydrogen.
No hydrogen. Where should we think about hydrogen?
For me, very clear. We have done in Austria thorough investigations on that. FFG, the famous Brenner tours, how to get goods from the South European side to the north and so on and back. From the harbors in Adria or in Florence to get the goods to Central Europe. Or to deliver the cars to south or to north and so on. Therefore, for transportation purposes is clear to me, even for special vehicles. I'm living next to the big Pumpspeicherwerk. Energy, getting the water, when you have too much energy in the net, pumping the water to a new reservoir, and actually a new lake on the top of the mountain. And when you are in a high demand of energy, you use the water in a generator, electric generator, and you feed this electricity into the net. Perfect. It's like a battery. Like a battery.
But let's break it down to an example which I think all audience can relate. Trucks, very big trucks, 18-wheelers. Battery or hydrogen? What's the future?
Here the same question. You need to listen exactly actually to the fleet owner. What is required? For instance, a delivery of goods from the storage to the final sales point of sales.
Kind of last mile delivery.
Or to the post box and so on. So it can be, the use case is really the major thing. So you have to go through, now it comes to the total cost of ownership.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is why I'm supporting the system from Z very much. You have to calculate that. You have to show to the decision maker a final balance. What is the advantage in terms of total cost of ownership?
Understand.
Or combined with some kind of life cycle analysis.
I understand that, but sometimes I have the feeling on the electric side or on the hydrogen side that there are two aspects which skew this total cost of ownership calculation. So the first one is if we would now calculate the total cost of ownership, we would do a snapshot in time. This is the status now.
Problem.
And if we would maybe decide that this technology wins, why ever, then more resources would go into that technology and it would improve. That is the one thing. And the second thing is, of course, infrastructure.
That's a very important point.
Which is basically the framework for that technology to be able to operate at all. So from that perspective, you think hydrogen long-distance transportation will prevail?
Yeah. Now it comes, you gave the most important question. 1 week before, I have been in Linz in the so-called hydrogen convention. And there was really discussed with all the hydrogen community from Graz, from Vienna. They came all together, 500 people, and they have been discussing what are the major hurdles. Why is there a postponement taking place? I'm in the hydrogen business since the year 2000. And we went there very motivated, and we have developed fuel cells in each regard, the Ballard system and so on. Then it came to the curve, it came to I would say, a slowdown. And just even to a decline. And now, again, they are focusing not on fuel cell developing anymore. They are focusing on infrastructure, on electrolyzers.
Yeah.
And this will make the turnaround. They have learned a little bit from the battery world.
Yeah.
The battery, same. We have been developing battery cars since, I don't know, shortly after Mr. Otto came out with his combustion engine.
Yeah.
There was the battery electric car already in Berlin, in Vienna, everywhere. The train, battery electric, or electric driven. And the problem is really to have sufficient energy in a net. In what kind of net? Doesn't matter. So you have to less right now hydrogen on a price level which make it competitive in the special business case, competitive to the other powertrain. So therefore, I would say we are now on the way to establish in Europe a huge hydrogen infrastructure.
Are we leading on this? Because in the battery electric vehicle part, I think there is common understanding that we are not the leaders anymore, but we try to catch up. What about hydrogen? Are we leading?
By the way, battery, the so-called logistic companies are not happy at all with providing charging station, mega charging station. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We have 2 less mega charging stations, and the tendency of these logistic companies now to have their own charging station in the headquarters. When in the evening the trucks are coming back, they would like to charge overnight.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, after the 700, 800,000 kilometers, when they come back, recharge it again.
So
the same,
control the energy cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the same is now what they have committed in Linz on the hydrogen side. To develop some, I would say, storage system which tap directly from electrolyzers, store it, and locate it at the so-called logistic enterprise owners to charge, for instance, the daily demand.
Understood.
In the logistics center, the headquarters, in the garages. And that, I think, is the future. Yes, of course, at the highway charging. Anyway, this will also, in parallel, it will take place. But the logistic owners, they say, we are responsible to get the truck running, rolling, rocking. And therefore, we need to provide energy on our own. This is now the tendency, and this can be done.
Understood.
With low-cost storage containers.
So basically decentralized storage, not only geographically, but entity-wise.
Look, the problem what we have in each country, in each developed, and of course also in China, everywhere, this is the so-called anti-cyclic utilization of the official net providers, energy from the net. You have gas net, you have energy, power electric net, you have this net and that net, you have water net, pipelines. But when you have a high consumption during the morning, or when all the factories are starting, or in the weekend you don't have, but your water mills, your water power generator, your windcraft power generator, or when the sun is shining, you cannot say, hey, wait, I don't need the sun anymore, I'm switching off. This is what they have been saying in Linz. Austria can produce double as much of energy, of electrical energy, compared to now. But the net is not able to digest that.
Yeah.
They switch off what they do. Water energy plants, where the rivers and mountains everywhere, they just open the sluice and let the water flow.
Understood.
Did you see any wind park fully operating when you drive with your car?
I mean, they're churning. I don't know if they're fully operating.
They switch off the windcraft.
Because it's too much for the net.
Same with PV, same.
Understood.
So therefore, the idea is to store energy at any time in storage system.
So you say, given that the grid cannot store this, you need energy storage on site.
Right.
Will be key. I understand. But in general now, we talk about electric drive. We know we are maybe not the leaders, the sole leaders, or we're depending probably on the use case, but there's a lot of global competition. How's the situation when it comes to hydrogen? Are we the leaders?
Actually, we have perfect technology for everything. Everything in your drawer, everything is there. But we do not have economy of scales. We have not a volume production. We don't have that right now in place, and we do not have sufficient infrastructure on that. That is slowing down.
So it's a management and politics problem, because as a management, I see that's the job of management. Take the technology, industrialize it, or help that. And of course, in terms of politics, create the framework where this is possible. But the European Union and Germany, they're very much want to hold the options open. Right now, there is a lot of focus on electricity and e-drives. Is there a lot going on
e-drive,
hydrogen?
Yes, very clear. Especially passenger cars. And of course, also these delivery cars, short distance delivery cars, light vehicle, the light transportation. Also this is post-delivery. This is definitely only for electric in the future.
Rainer, we just talked about so many different things, from globalization, industrialization, technology jumps, how to think about technology, but the infrastructure for that technology and the compliant framework. And for me, definitely all seems more connected. But we came to the point where these are not easy things to do. And here, maybe Rainer, how can we help? How can you help? How can we push this going forward? And what's your goal?
My goal is integration, to manage complexity. We have so many options now, so many challenges, and we have so many solutions. And to manage complexity, this is for me the most important thing in the future. For instance, there are instruments available to manage complexity, like artificial intelligence. How to bring all the data silos together. We came from that point. This is our, I would say, baseline. How to get, for the decision makers, the complexity more clearer. For decision-making process to have a paper, option A, option B, option C, advantages, disadvantages, price. This is my dream as a managing director of my small company. This can be in a small version.
How do you start with that?
What I'm doing right now, I'm trying to, I have some customers and they are asking me exactly the same. What do you suggest? Which way should we go? This, A, B, or C? And then do you have all your frame conditions together? Do you have your specification list? Do you have your own thoughts? What is your driving and decision-making criteria? This should be clear. You have to spend, at this point, enough sufficient time to have the things, really the frame conditions clear. You have to understand your customers. What are the real customers' demand? Sometimes it's not even written. There are cultural elements behind. All this you should bring together for the complexity decision-making process.
And I have a question on that. And it's maybe a question about the culture. Because basically on these management levels, these decisions, you're thinking your goal is relevance, right? Because sometimes it's very hard to quantify even the revenue that will come out of that because the market changes. But I have the feeling after talking to many executives in the manufacturing that the number one goal is stay relevant, be relevant with your solution. And sometimes this is in 5 years. Now, this is, of course, all based on hypothesis, right? Because there's so many factors. You said there's so many different challenges and problems. And sometimes I feel, and this is myself, I grew up here in Vienna, Austria, struggling because as a European engineer, you want to just have it deterministic. You want to make a plan, and that is the plan. But as I see what American companies do very well, they understand that it's not deterministic. So they say, I need to do multiple things, and one of them has to hit. One of them has to work. So how do you see that operating under uncertainty with a mindset which actually does not like uncertainty or failure?
I like that point. The ball you are throwing to my side. This is for the classical Austrians and Germans very hurting. Yeah. I always put it this way. I say it like it is. We are missing real enterprise owners, entrepreneurs. We have too less enterprise owners right now. This gives you the answer already on your point, because we have promoted especially all the controllers, especially in the OEMs. This is also my personal experience. The career went always not to the engineers. The engineers, they are good in their cabin. Let them do this cylinder head construction. Perfect. Global champion in cylinder head construction. But we need enterprise owners, entrepreneurs, also in OEMs. At that time promoted, I think this is a result as of now, all the McKinsey followers, the Boston Consulting fellows, they have been promoted.
There's and then we really are back good to ones this among one point. Them too.
Then we are back to the one point. Decision-making process based on figures, based on facts and data. On the other hand side, and we have some countries in this world, they have exactly that attitude. the so-called entrepreneurial behavior. This you can find in China. This you can find in Korea. This you can find in many countries. Singapore. This is a headquarter of innovations right now. What is ongoing in Singapore, it's a dream, it's a paradise. I have been living 4 years in Singapore. They are doing exactly what you are asking. Earn money on the one hand side, and using a big part of the money to put it in innovations. And all those fellows, these are for me the entrepreneurs. These are this is my father, this is my grandfather, he did the same job. Putting the money, the profit, also on risk elements. This behavior we should also reinvent for us in the future as well. Also not only like in the big companies, everything based on facts and figures. No, we need also risk capital. We need more risk capital.
Understand.
Risk enterprise owners.
I think maybe if I would add something to that, reinvent is, I know exactly where you're coming from. I would maybe phrase it in a way, go and find it, because all this prosperity and technology that we have, because we were like this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here where we are. But sometimes you have to restart that engine again,
right,
to stay on top.
Press the button.
With that, Rainer, thank you for being here. Thank you for this great conversation. And if you have questions towards Rainer, he's very much active on LinkedIn. You can direct message him. I can tell you from personal experience, if you have a complex situation, just bring him in and he will bring in clarity and he will bring in structure. And this conversation alone was very insightful to me, and I hope to you too. So that's it for today, and see you next time.